All right. Okay. Welcome back. So let's take a look at then the basic elements of a program in this lecture. So far, we looked at the basic components of the computer hardware, and then we look at the process of writing a simple program, and then now we know that the whole compilation process where we take a program and then convert that one into the language that computer hardware understands. So that's the machine language, and then the execution process. Right now, it's a good time for us to take a look at the basic elements of a program in much more detail level, and then see exactly what are the different parts of a program. So how we can compose a simple program. Okay. So first then, so let's take a quick and detail, by the way, look at a C++ program. So that includes what is called functions. So sometimes we call it methods, and then it has special symbols, and also a program can have identifiers that allows us to identify different computational things inside the program. Right. So later we'll explore different data types that we need to store in the program. For example, if I want to store, let's say, age of a person in the computer program, so then I need to have something like age defined in the program, and then putting some value like 10 in there, right? So that's where we are using data to store some of the data values stored in the program, right? So these things are called variables. So we'll look at data variables and data representation, and then operations that we can do with these data items. So the arithmetic operations in general, but we can perform logical operations also. All right. So in another lecture we'll explore this, but in this lecture we are going to explore this part where we'll take a closer look at different components and ingredients of a program. Okay. So in general then, so when you are writing a program, so what is a program? So program is a sequence of statements, so that is designed to accomplish a particular task. So in the previous program that we looked at, it had several cout statements to display this is my first C++ program, and then adding two numbers together and so on and so forth. It had three statements, so one after the other, so that's why I call it sequence of statements, and it perform a particular task. All right. So then computer program is nothing but a set of statements that perform a particular task. Right. Now when you're writing a program, then so first we need to plan it and then see what are those instructions, and then what is the order in which we need to execute those instructions. After planning it, so we can create the program. So that process is called then programming. Right. So then when you're writing a program, when you're programming, so we need to program it in a way that satisfy the programming language rules. Right. So these rules are called syntax of the programming language. So then we need to comply with those grammatical rules of the programming language while writing the program. Right. So now in order for us to define these rules, so we have set of programming languages like C++ and Java. So they have their own grammatical rules. So then we need to follow those grammatical rules when you are writing a program using a programming language like C++ or Java. In this class, so we'll be using C++. Okay. So in addition to these grammatical rules, so sometimes these instructions have a meaning also associated with it. So let me give one simple example. So suppose I am writing a statement so that divide 10 by 2. So 10 by 2 makes sense, so that's going to give us 5, right? So however, if I say 10 divided by 0, so this really does not have any meaning, right? Because we really cannot divide anything by 0. But technically this seems like correct because we have 10 at the top and then 0 at the bottom, both are numbers. So according to syntax rules, so this is a correct statement. So however, according to the meaning of the statement, so this has no meaning, but this has the meaning, right? So then when you're writing a program, so we have to make sure that our instruction has meaning associated with the instruction that we are putting it together. So in order for us to do that, we can pretty much use some error checking mechanisms to see if our program has any semantic or meaning related errors also associated with it, right? So in the program, so we have the syntax, that's the grammatical rules, and also the semantics, all right? So semantic of a program is the meaning of the program instruction. So syntax is the grammatical rules, all right? So compilers can detect these syntax errors. So however, compilers will not be able to check these semantic errors. So those errors will happen at runtime. So they are kind of dangerous, all right? Okay. So then we need to avoid them with all cost by having statements that check for these kind of errors, all right? So we'll talk about what those things are as we develop programs throughout the semester. Okay. All right. So now let's look at what is the program is made up of then. So when you have a program, so as discussed earlier, so program consists of keywords, and then programmer defined symbols like the storing age or that kind of a nature, and then operators. So that means if I want to perform addition, so we already saw we have plus sign to add two numbers like 5 plus 7, so something like this. If I say cout 5 plus 7, so then we'll be performing this operation with these two numbers and then sending the data to the monitor, right? So then this will pretty much display 12 in the monitor, right? So likewise, there are special characters in the programming language that we can use to construct a program, and also of course it needs to follow syntax rules, right? So these are the basic common elements of a programming language, right? So we can think about this one as a natural language like English, for example. So English, we have the alphabet, and then using the alphabet we can construct words. By combining words, we can create sentences. By combining sentences, we can create paragraphs, and so on and so forth, right? So as we follow this process, so we need to combine them meaningfully. So if I combine ABC, so that's a word, but that really does not have any meaning associated with it, right? But if I say John or eat or something like that, so this has a meaning, and then this has a meaning. So therefore, when you are combining them, so we need to have the meaning associated with it, and also we need to follow the syntax rules like this nature, right? And also when you are writing let's say English language statement, so usually we start with the uppercase. Okay, so John ate an apple, right? So something like this, right? So if I write something like this, then so we have the first word the uppercase, and also we have the full stop in the end. So that's symbol that indicates that end of the sentence, right? So something like this. So then that's pretty much the syntactically correct English statement. So likewise, when you're writing a C++ code, so we need to follow something along that line, all right? So another example would be in terms of the semantic. So let's say when you say birds fly, so we know that birds fly, so that's the correct statement that has a meaning also. But when I say cats fly, so usually cats don't fly. So therefore cats fly is grammatically correct, but semantically incorrect, because there is no meaning associated with it, all right? So therefore, when we are combining all of these things in the programming language context, so we need to create it in a way that's correct according to the syntax and also correct according to the meaning, all right? So here is a more elaborated example then. So in this particular program, so what you're doing is we are sending some data values to the monitor. So cout and then hello there. So that's a string that we are sending. So that's the output statement. Now we know that we have these special symbols like this to indicate the beginning of the program as well as the ending of the program. And also we know that main is a function or a method, right? And then this one we know that is returning 0 back to the operating system. So that's again a valid correct statement, and also every statement should end with a semicolon. So that's according to the syntax or grammatical rules, okay? And this one all of us know that is a preprocessor directive or the library. So that defines input output related operations, right? So then we need to include that, right? And then using namespace std is a standard symbol or the statement, so that we use to indicate that this program is using the standard libraries defined above, right? And also, if I want to say something about the program and then what does this program do and that kind of things, so we can put a comment lines, so starting with 2 slashes. So those comment lines are human beings to read, but compiler will ignore them, right? So this one is representing 1 line comment line. Now if I want to have multiple line comments lines, so I can have slash and the star, and then we can have multiple lines here and then star and the slash, right? So then inside this I can put pretty much all the definitions or description of the program that I want to, right? So that essentially different parts of the computer in much more detailed way. Now if I put it in more kind of organized way, so then double slash is representing beginning of a comment, okay, for 1 line comment, right? So then this pound sign is using preprocessor directive include, and then we have the open brackets and the closing brackets for the include directive, and then open and close parentheses for the methods like main method and so on and so forth. So in open and close braces, that's the curly brackets, so that group statements together, okay. And then we have double quotes to indicate strings, and then semicolons to indicate end of a statement, right? So these are then special characters that we use in a program to indicate specific things, right? So that we cannot use them for other purposes. They have special meanings associated with it, right? So then in addition to that, so there are keywords associated with the program, so we call them reserved words. So they also have a special meaning, so we cannot use them for any other purpose, right? Now in here, so the words that are shown in the green in here, like using namespace and int, so they are special keywords in the C++ programming language, right? So then they have special meaning associated with it, right? So then int, for example, is representing an integer value, a whole number. Now if I put something like double, so that's the keyword also. Double is representing a decimal point value like 3.5 or something along that nature, right? So then all of these keywords have their own meaning, so then we need to use them based on their meaning, so we cannot use them for any other purpose, okay? All right. So the other construct that we had in the program is a cout object. I think we all know that cout object is representing the output, that's the computer monitor, and the cout object is defined in the input output stream library. So IO stands for input output, right? Now when you are displaying something in the monitor, so we can display it as 1 line like this, or we can actually have 2 cout statements, so with hello and there. So since we don't have end of line in here, so even in this one, so we'll be displaying hello there in 1 line, because after displaying hello, so we'll stay in the same line, okay? And then we'll have there in here, right? Now if I want to go to a new line, then so I need to put the new line as a special character, or use the endl command, right? So this is how we can put a new line in here. So if I want to kind of display this and go to a new line, so we know that we can put endl in here, right? Another way to do the same thing is to use /n, right? Then /n is indicating new line, right? Now if I say something like this, so cout hello and then /n, so there. So this one is actually when you execute it, so first it display hello, comma, and then it sees a new line character. So as soon as it sees a new line character, we know that this is a special character, right? So that indicates that we need to go to the next line. So then we go to the next line and then display there in the next line. All right, so for this particular code, output is going to be hello in the first line and then there in the second line. All right, so therefore /n will allow us to go to a new line. Okay, so endl pretty much does the same thing. Okay, and actually another construct in here, suppose I need to have some spaces in between, so cout, and then let's say I want to have several tab spaces, so I can put /t and then there hello there. So if I do this, so this what is going to happen, so it's going to display hello and then put 2 tab spaces, there will be printed here, right? So then this one is going to give us more tab spaces. All right, so that's kind of different ways of formatting and aligning the output. So later we are going to talk about few more constructs associated with the cout object as to how to develop much better looking output in the monitor. Okay, all right. So the third thing we have seen is the include directive in here. So we all know that include directive basically saying, so we need to include this particular library inside the program. Okay, so that's pretty much what we discussed earlier also. So it's a library portion in the program. Okay, all right, so now it's time for us to take a quick look at it in terms of writing a simple C++ program starting from the scratch. Right, suppose we need to write a C++ program that displays the name, age and the GPA. Okay, so let's say your name, your age and the GPA. Right, now how do we write this program? So when you're writing the program, then so essentially what you need to do is we need to display 3 things in the monitor. Okay, so then we can do this one by having 3 cout statement. Right, now then what is the approach? So a way we do that is to use the C++ program template in writing the program. Now the first thing is we said that every program should have the main method, so then int main and then starting curly bracket and the ending curly bracket. Okay, at the end we have return 0. Right, so the next thing we have is then, so we need to say that use the standard library for cout and so on and so forth. So then we need to have the include directive. Right, so include IO stream library, and then we need to say that use the standard library defined for the input output using namespace std. Right, so that's kind of the basic template. Now inside this end we need to construct cout statements to do these 3 tasks. All right, so first let's say I want to display the name, so then we can say cout, right, the redirect operator. Suppose I'm going to display my name right here, so Janaka and then my last name Surya and then endl. So that will display my first name, last name, and then go to the next line. Right, so after doing that, suppose I need to display the age. Right, so age is a number. Okay, so say I want to display something like age here. Okay, so something like this. So since this is a number, we really don't need to put double quotes in there. Okay, so then age is displayed. So after displaying the age, so we can display let's say GPA. Okay, so suppose my GPA is not that good, so say something like 2.8 or something like that. So now this is going to be my GPA and L, so that's going to display me the GPA. Okay, now this doesn't look pretty good actually in terms of the output. So we know that this is a name, but we really don't know what these numbers are. So therefore we can make this program a little bit better by giving more meaningful information as we display the output. right? So to do that, so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to remove this part and then add little bit more text into it, and then say now I'm displaying age, and then now I am displaying GPA, and so on and so forth. So then what you can do is, first we can have a string here that says age, and within double quotes, and then we can use another redirect statement here and then say this is going to be my age. So when you run the program, then so it will display the name and then it will say age and then 35. So then everybody knows actually this number is representing the age, right? So likewise, when I want to represent it, say the GPA, so I can say that I am displaying GPA now, and then display the GPA after that, right? So when I am running the program, then so output of this program will look like this, right? So it will have the first name and then the last name in the first line. Because of this, we go to the next line, and then in the next line we can say age and then 35 in here, okay? And then it goes to the next line because of the ender statement right here. So then we have GPA and then 2.5, right? So then this is going to be the output of this particular program, right? So I hope we all got some idea about constructing a simple program like this. So then main thing we need to do is to include all of these libraries needed, and then have the template. So int main and the beginning of the program returns 0, that's the end of the program. So inside this, so we can write all the program instructions that we want right here, okay? All right. So let's then look at a quick checkpointing question to see if we understood the whole process of creating a simple program, and then the syntax of it and the meaning of it, and then we can move on to the next chapter, okay? All right.